Welcome back to the Jazz Ranch. It's spring here, and the daffodils are blooming, and we're feeling really mellow. And I'm glad you joined me. And I have a special quote for you this evening that I think is really important. It comes from Bill Evans, the great pianist, great jazz pianist. He was a major influence on my playing and my love of the piano. And he said this: "I believe in things that are developed through hard work. I always like people who have developed long and hard, especially through introspection and a lot of dedication. I think what they arrive at is usually a much deeper and more beautiful thing than the person who seems to have that ability and fluidity from the beginning." I say this because it's a good message to give to young talents who feel as I used to. Now, I really identify with this quote because I didn't start out in music, and I had to work really hard at it to catch up. And so I know what hard work is, and that's the result of how I play today. I didn't have special, unusual gifts or special talents. I just worked really hard. So my lesson this evening is going to be one that requires some hard work. So let's move into that. And here we go. This video is going to focus on specific issues involving the 2-5-1 progression and putting it to the cycle of fifths. So you're going to learn about the cycle of fifths and also the 2-5-1 progression, which is the most important progression really in music and particularly in jazz. So I'm going to have these exercises written out for you on my website so you can download them, and let's do that first before you even watch this, is to download I have like 6 pages of exercises, which includes also how they're applied to a tune. I'm going to go through each one. It starts with the easiest one, moves up through intermediate, and then advanced. So this may be a longer video, but that's how I'm going to do it. And so I hope whatever level you're at, you will gain something from this video, and you'll write to me and let me know. So here we go now with the 2-5-1s through the cycle of fifths. Here we go. Let's start out by looking at the cycle of fifths based on one note. And if this is new to you, then you might want to go back to a previous tutorial on the basics of how to figure out the cycle of fifths. For now, we're just going to accept it and move from there. So like I'm going to start on an A. So this is A440. I'm going to go to A220. If you're into math, it's half of this is A440 vibrations per second. This is 220. So we're going to start there. Now to go through the cycle of fifths in the most concise area within the keyboard, I'm going to go up a fourth and down a fifth. If I want to spread it out through the keyboard, I can keep going up in fourths or down in fifths. So I'm just going to go up a fourth, down a fifth. So just accept this for now, and you know, go to the previous video. But like up a fourth, down a fifth, up a fourth, down a fifth, up a fourth, down a fifth. So it goes like this. We end up back at 1 again, right? We did that whole cycle. Now let's look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? There's your 12 tones. But we missed some because we did one of the whole tone scales. We need to do the other whole tone scale. Now that may be confusing, but just accept it for now, and we'll talk about more detail later. I want you to get right to the exercise now. So the other one, we would have to go up chromatically like this, up a half step. So now the other whole tone scale would have this specific cycle of fifths. See how that works now? So it's always 12, right? Here's the exercise, and you'll need to look at the score for this, but I'm going to start on that A, and I'm going to create a 2-5-1. So the 2-5-1 is going to be, the first chord is going to be a minor 7, the second chord is going to be a dominant 7, and it's going to resolve to a major 7. So now I'm going to form it like this. Root here, flat 7 there, flat 3 and 5. That's my first chord. That's the 2 chord. The A minor 7 is going to resolve. Now I went up in this case, I'm going to go down the 5th to here. Now, interesting thing about this is you're only going to need to move a little bit here. And I'm only using a 3-note chord. Notice I'm not using a 4-note chord. I could use that, but I'm just going to simplify this now with a 3-note chord, which has the flat 7 in it, the minor 3rd, and the 5th. And the least you want to have is a root, a 3rd, a root, a 3rd, and a 7th. So you could get away with that, but I'm going to add the extra note there just to keep it more interesting. Down the 5th to the D, and all I do is move this 1 note and keep the other 2. Now I have a D9. That's root, major 3rd, flat 7, major 9, and then resolve. These 2 come down like this, half step, whole step, to resolve to the 1. So that's a 2-5-1 in G. A minor 7, D7, G. Now I go to G minor 7. Now to go to that, in other words, I'm going to continue the cycle. So now I just lower these 2 from a major to a minor 7. From a major 7 to a minor 7, I just lower these 2. Now I have root, flat 7, flat 3, 5. Now I do the same thing. It's a pattern that is equal in every way. So this is now the only thing is this is a piano. This is not a guitar or whatever. So it's going to be not symmetrical from that point of view in terms of how these voices are moving, so to speak, or partials are moving. So we have that. Now we're going to move these 2 down, make it minor, then this one down here with the thumb, and then these 2 down. Now that's 2-5-1 into F. So we went 2-5-1 into G. Now we just make G a minor 7 chord, and we do 2-5-1 into F. See, so we're moving down that whole tone scale. So we make the major chord, the major 7 chord, a minor chord, minor 7 chord, and we go down to the E flat. Now we continue the cycle. This is all on the sheet now. C sharp minor, F sharp 9 to B major 7, now B minor 7, E9 to A major 7. Now we're back where we started because we're on the A major, so now it begins again. You could keep going, but I started it here just to make it practical. So now we've done 1 set of 2-5s, 1s. Now we'll do the other set because we went on the whole tone scale built like this. So we're missing another set of 2-5s. We'd have to do them chromatically like this in order to have all of them. We'd have to go like, and we'd have to go like, or like this maybe, and then go down chromatically, and go down chromatically. Now on this sheet you can do the exercise in either way. You can do it through the cycle the way I'm showing you, or you can do it chromatically. So you can do it stepwise or chromatically. And I like the stepwise one because it sounds musically more interesting. So now we'll go like this. That's B flat minor 7, E flat 9, A flat major 7. Then A flat minor 7, D flat 9, G flat major 7. Or then G flat, or you can call it F sharp, minor 7, B 7, E. Oh, I goofed. Okay, E major 7, now E minor 7, A7, or A9, D flat major 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, C minor 7, F7, B flat. That sounds complicated, I know, when I'm playing it quickly like that, but you're not going to learn this just by looking. I think you're going to need the score. But let me play it through once slowly for those that are just using the visual approach. So here I'm going to start on the first pattern, and it goes like this. I'm going to go really slow so you can watch the pattern. A minor 7, D7 or D9. They're all 9s, but the dominants are all 9s, but I'm just call them dominant 7s. Or better yet, I'm going to say 2-5-1 into G. 2-5-1 into F. 2-5-1 into E flat. 2-5-1 into D flat. 2-5-1 into B, and 2-5-1 into A, which takes us back to where we started, but an octave lower. See, there's the A minor G. You could go a little lower this. Now it gets muddy. Maybe you could go down to there, and that's about as far as you go. The other set now, starting on B flat, half step higher than the other set. Here we go. Now hopefully you have a program that'll slow this all down so you can look at each one separately. But now I like these particular voicings because they are economy of motion. Now that's the most important thing to know about this. In other words, the economy of motion. Let's just take the one going into C, which is easy to understand. We're going like this. So you see the economy of motion. I'm not going like this, which is playing everything in root position. First of all, I'm playing a 3-note chord here instead of a 4-note chord. So I'm simplifying the chord in the right hand, and I'm just doing the least amount of movement to get to the next chord. So all I have to do is move that down there. And now I just move these 2 notes down like that. So it's D minor 7, G7. Now that's the basis for really all professional playing, is that if you really want to play and comp, that's called comping, where you're playing chords backing up a singer or backing up a band or backing up a horn player or whatever. The pianist wants to use that economy of motion to get a nice, what we call voice leading. So this voice goes down to here, and these 2 voices drop down to here. And then if I want to add a passing tone or passing chord, I can do this. As simple as that, or even this. Or even this. Now if I want to make it more complex, I can add this. Let's start out by just learning that 2-5-1 progression through the cycle of fifths. Of course, it's going to be more difficult in the difficult keys. The keys with the sharps and flats are more sharps and flats. And that's what pianists have to deal with, and guitarists can just, move it across the frets. But anyway, that's the start. That's the first exercise. We'll move on. In the next group of exercises, I'm going to be playing basically a block chord in the left hand, moving through the 2-5-1s. Starting with the root position, and then an inversion, then a root position. I'm going to start in the root position first. But I'm also going to add a melody in the right hand, which is really not a melody, but it's more or less a set of notes that fit that particular progression and make sense to it. They're usually going to be some type of, what I would say, skips followed by scalar motion. So in other words, this would be vertical movement followed by horizontal movement. And the important thing is that the target tones, passing tones and target tones, will be the issue that's going on in the right hand. So I'll create a little melody or a little line that fits the left hand progression of the 2-5. So I'm going to be going through the same progression that I played earlier, but now it's going to be a block chord position. So it's going to have a 4-note chord built on the root of the chord. So it's going to be root, 3rd, 5th, 7th. And the first chord, of course, is a minor 7, so it's going to be root, flat 3, 5, and flat 7. So now the melody in the right hand is going to be this. So that's it. So now the second chord, A minor 7, of course, moves to the D7. So I'm going to voice it like that, and then move to the G major, the 1 chord like that. So now what's actually happening there in this particular first exercise of the 2-5-1 progressions through the cycle of fifths. The 2 chord is played in root position, and the 5 chord is played in second inversion. How do I know that? Because here's root position of the D7. I'm moving it up to the second inversion, and then I'm playing the 1 chord in root position. So we have root, second inversion, root position. Now that's the first one you want to learn. Now also the rule of the economy of motion works perfectly there, because these 2 notes are moving down there, and then these 2 notes on the bottom are moving down. So what actually is happening? Let's look at this and analyze it. This note here is moving down a half step, moving down a whole step, and this is moving down a half step. And then these don't move, and now the same thing happens with the 2 lower notes. The bottom one moves down a whole step, and the next one up moves down a half. So you see how that's symmetrical in a way? In other words, okay, this one moves down a whole, and this one moves a half, and then it changes from this one, the bottom one moving down a whole, and this second note moving down a half to there. So however you want to figure it out, you should be able to see it though. You should be able to see that this is an inversion of a D7, and then we move to a root position of a G major. You really want to see it from those 2 angles. In other words, the movement and also the visual aspect of how the chord is inverted, or how it's played in root position. So now I add this melody on the top like this, there to there, and then the target tone of the 3rd on the D7 moving down the scale. So now that's a really good lick to play, or melodic line to play, because it moves up in arpeggios. It's arpeggiated, so that's vertical movement, and then down in horizontal movement. Now what does that mean? It means that vertical movement means it skips, and horizontal movement means that it's stepwise. So it moves ascending in skips and then descends in scales, or in a scalar or a stepwise movement. And that's a good balance, is to get that, not only to have an ascending line, but have a descending line. That creates a good, like we call wave-like balance in the line, which is a rule of composition, a rule of improvisation, is to have that sort of vertical and horizontal movement. So here we go now. 2-5-1 into G major now. Same line, same progression, or position, shall we say. Like that. Here we go through the cycle now. Sorry, I got that. Okay, there you go. Hopefully you're reading this off the sheet. It's amazing how this works. It's perfect. That's the hard one, because it's the B major with a lot of sharps. So now see, it's starting to get muddy, so we have to end it there. Now the next set, that was one set, which involves that particular whole tone scale. Now we're going to go to the next set. Same line. Here's a hard one because it's a G flat major. Another hard one because it's 4 sharps. Now, what you're gaining from this exercise not only is to understand the left-hand voicings, but to also understand how a melody works with those chords. And you're going through the cycle of fifths, so you're learning a lot from this. You're learning the cycle of fifths, you're learning chord voicings, and you're learning how to apply a melody to it, so that it has all these aspects, and you can take any of these 2/5s, 1s, and isolate them. In other words, you could just keep doing that one till pick out any key that you want and work on that particular one. Or you can like repeat the cycle, you know, of the 6 of them, of the different 2 whole tone scales. You can repeat those. That's the way I've written it out, so you can repeat them. So you want to repeat them and take any one that interests you or one that's difficult for you and work on the difficult ones. The ones that are easy, don't spend as much time on them. Work on the ones that are difficult. This is the way you expand not only your ear, but all that you can do on the keyboard. You're really learning how to use the keyboard and how to understand how it works in the different keys. Now we'll move on. This next exercise involves putting the root position chords now into first inversion. So I'm going to demonstrate with the key of C to show you 2, 5, 1 into C how it would look. Remember, we played it like this. Well, now moving it up an inversion, we go up to the first inversion like this, and then drop the root, add the 9th. So now we have a rootless chord, but with the color tone of the 9th, the upper extension. Now, to get to the G7, all we do is drop the index finger a half step like that. Now we have a G7 with a 9th, flat 7, 9, 3rd, and 13. You know, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in there. So we have like a much more color now in that G dominant chord, resolving to C major like that, but it's a C major 9 now. So we've added the 9ths to the chords and the 13th to the dominant chord. So it's a more modern sounding chord. It's hipper, shall we say. So now the figure, we're going to play with it. Let's go up to the A minor now. That's our starting chord. Take it to the first inversion, drop the root, add the 9th. So it's going to look like this. That's the 2, 5, 1. The melody figure is going to be this. Okay, so what's happening on that melody? Let's see. Root, target into the D chord on its 5th, down to its 3rd, up to its 7th, then resolving to the G chord on its 3rd. The 3rd is always a good target tone to use. So now we'll go through the set. Here we go. That's G major into F major, into E flat, into D flat. Your ear can hear this, I think. Because you know when you make a mistake, you can hear it. So they get a little tougher when you get into the sharp keys. Now we'll do the second set. When you first start learning these, you have to play them a lot slower, and probably just the left hand alone. Make sure you got that to start, because this set starts out kind of tough, but like you could do it like this. Notice the fingering now. I'm using a different fingering there. Then we go to D minor. I'm putting the 3rd finger on the first note. The last one into B flat. So they get easier as you descend. Okay, that's the second set, and that completes the first inversion, 2, 5, 1s, and we'll move on now to the 3rd inversion, or what John Mahegan calls the B form. The next exercise is moving the root position up now to the 3rd inversion. Now that would be like, let's look at the D minor 7. We move it up. If we just use the, inverting it like that, it would look like that. But what we're going to do is when we invert, we add the 9th, and then we can add the 13th. So we get up to here. Now we have the 9th in there. And then when we go to the G7, we have the 13th in there, which is right there. Now, you might ask, why are we doing this? Well, because this is really the modern sound. This is what all pianists from the 60s on used. And if this is new to you, then just hang in there with me. But I want to say, you might say, well, why are you passing this on? This took me years to figure out. I had never had a teacher that showed me this. I never read it in a book. It's probably in books, but I never read it in a book. I learned it by listening. So I'm just passing this on to you because this is a new era. You're in a new era now, and there's so much information that you younger people need to learn that why shouldn't I just pass it on? It's a good thing to do, and I feel good about it. So let's just say we're going to accept this as being the 2-5-1s in the third position, or as John Mahegan said, the B form. So the B form is the most important. Now you're saying, why are you skipping the second inversion? Just because it doesn't sound as good. I'll show you why. If I went to the second inversion, it would be this one, and would go, the D minor 7 would be in second inversion, the G7 would be in root position, and then the 1 chord would be in second inversion. And that's okay, but it's not really as good. It's not as good of a solution as this is. Now, you may not hear the difference, but believe me, I'm telling you the truth. So let's go with the third, and we'll go up here. Now, the lick is this. Now, I'm using this lick like that. Played it wrong, but what I'm giving to you in these melodic ideas up here is a way to create a good line based on descending motion, ascending motion, scalar motion, in other words, steps and skips. And in this one, I have actually a chromatic move like this. Chromatic approach to this target tone. So that's a good, think of it as a wave, like in the sea, a wave. It comes out, it's rounded. In other words, it has a full spectrum. It has ascending, descending in skips, a chromatic approach, and then ascending stepwise, and then another skip down to a target tone. So there's target tone, approach tone, target tone, approach tone, then there into a target tone. So now let's hear how it sounds with the third inversion chords. Now up to here. Let's look at this. Drop the root, add the ninth. Now to get to the G13, I just drop the pinky like that. And now I just drop these 3 notes down to here to get into the C major. Now if you heard the bass notes against this, you'd really hear what the chord sounds like, because these are rootless chords. There's no root in there. There's the D minor, here's the G13, and here's the C major. Notice there's no root in there. You don't need the root. Why? Because it's implied, or the bass player's playing it, or you play it in that way, going down and playing it to establish what it is, to make sure your ear hears it. But your ear does hear that. Starting with the 2-5-1 into C, we're moving up to the third inversion of the D minor 9, and our figure is this. So I'll repeat that so you can see it. So we have down here, now turn into the third of the G chord, ending up on the fifth of the C chord. Now we continue. That's the first set. For the second set is 2-5-1 into D flat. It's a half step higher. So I'm going to E flat minor 7, E flat minor 9, up to here. So that's E flat minor 9, A flat 13 to D flat major 7 is where we're starting. We're starting on this note. So that completes the full set now of 2-5-1s in the third inversion. Another idea is to get good at these is to just isolate maybe one or two. Just keep repeating it. Or change the melody or the timing, like. Or just practice on that 1-2-5-1, or maybe do 2 in a row, like. That type of thing is good to do. Now pick the difficult ones for you and practice them repeatedly, or keep repeating them till they begin to really sink in. You're hearing them. You're not only hearing them, but you're feeling them in your hands and feeling the positions and getting more comfortable with it. It's a great way to build up your ear and also your technique in the difficult keys. Now that we've spent 30 minutes on this particular video, I'd like to take a break and encourage you to go to part 2 of this video, but we're going to break right now, and if you're tired of this or you want to move on, you can go to another video of mine by just going to my channel page, click on my name, go to my channel page, and then click on playlist, and you'll see all my videos in categories. So you can select any video within any category that interests you, and you can look at it in depth. So now I will say, signing off, until next time. Bye-bye.